My name is Waukesha Kulic, and I am the youngest daughter of Jane Kulic. I've tried to figure out where to start, and there really isn't anywhere specific to start off with. I can't put all of my emotions onto however many pieces of paper because there's just not enough, at least in my mind. I've waited for this day, both anxiously, yet ready to share my piece on the matter. I'm here speaking upon behalf of my mother and the rest of my family, and my twin brother standing right next to me. I've been to most of the trial that I could make it to, as it is my first year in college, and my mom would want me to put my schooling first. I have many emotions on this subject, but without a doubt, the most extensive emotion I feel is grief. At the time of this tragedy, I was 17 years old, and I was starting my senior year of high school, which most people would think should be your best time of school, but for me it was anything but that. I was starting my college journey, at least trying to. My mom managed to take my brother and I on at least 2 college tours before she had passed. It was my last prom, my 18th birthday, and of course graduating, all of which I did not enjoy. Not one of them. The joy of these things were stripped away from me quickly on November 21st of 2021. I could tell you every last detail about that day, up to the clothes I was wearing. I could tell you what show I was watching, as I am thankful that I was sick that day and couldn't be at the parade to see what many got to see, unfortunately. I was bummed at first because I was sick that day and I couldn't see my mom march in her first ever parade. She was really excited. Granted, she's marched in parades before alongside my brother and I through WPRF, but this time the light was supposed to shine on just her. I don't think that it had been 2 hours since she left that my dad got a phone call from someone my mom had been marching with, stating that she had been hit by a car. At first I thought my dad was just upset about something over work, because that's kind of common. Or what my mind went to was that maybe the after parade traffic was pretty bad and she collided with another car, not a car to person. I remember the first thing I did is my dad told us all to run and get our shoes, and before anybody got into the car, I called my best friend. And I told her that my mom had been hit, and I didn't know the extent to which, how bad the situation was, and I would fill her in whenever I could. On the way to the hospital was when reality quickly set in, and oh, how I wish I was right. I wish that it was just I just wish that it was a car-on-car crash, not an SUV to person. As we got closer to the hospital, the drasticity of this incident was quickly revealed. Ambulances were surrounding the hospital, and the waiting room was a triage. I will never forget the things I saw that day. I will never forget the chaos of parents searching for their children, demanding answers as we were for my mom. My dad rushed into the back. He had this sweatshirt on that had an ambulance symbol on it that he just thrifted and used it to his advantage. I specifically remember seeing the extreme dancers with gashes in their head and cuts all over their body and blood all over their clothes. In one direction, I saw one girl, probably no older than 10, seizing in her wheelchair, and the mother just screaming, not knowing what to do for her precious child. In the other end, I saw a girl that was on a blanket on the floor. She was screaming every time she was touched. And when we couldn't find out any information about where my mom was, I quickly knew. Quickly my brain knew before my heart did the outcome. I'd never thanked my dad for this, but I appreciated the optimism and the composure he kept during the longest waiting period of my life. He was optimistic, saying that God would make everything okay. And we'd even joke around a little bit about my mom while she was dead. When a doctor finally approached us, I was in the bathroom. I had to take some time away from my family as I didn't want them to see I was upset. My older sister, she pulled me out and she told me that they finally had some information. And when they brought us back to the room and told us to sit down, you just know. I had to prepare myself for what I was about to hear. Hearing that my mom had deathly injuries in her head and her lungs and all the rest of her organs, and she was deceased. That is the words that he used. She was deceased. That is something that I will never be able to unhear, along with what I saw in the triage of that hospital waiting room that day. Oftentimes when I hear sirens, I'm scared. I'm scared that another family has to go through what I went through, what my family went through. And it's terrifying that in the world we live in, something like that can happen in the blink of an eye. We were driven home by a squad car that day, considering none of us were in good condition to drive. And I'll never forget all the phone calls I had to make to tell our loved ones that my mom was dead. That she didn't get the chance. She did not get a say in the matter. I remember calling my best friend, all of my best friends, and they stayed with me till 3 a.m, and my boyfriend, they all did. And the next day I didn't even want to get out of bed. I couldn't. I still spend every day just waiting for this nightmare to end. As I think that second day, it still hasn't fully processed yet that my mom was no longer with us. I never would wish on my worst enemy to have the burden to share such horrible news that nobody ever prepares you for. After all is said and done, I couldn't get out of bed for a few days, nor did I have much of an appetite. The next few days consist of me trying to put together this new life, all of which still doesn't sink in sometimes. But other days, believe me, it does. Even though I've received so much love and support from the community, my friends, and my family, I've never felt so alone. I don't think I'd ever be capable of feeling this much pain in my life, but here I am. I'm watching my siblings, and my nephews and niece, and my cousins and my aunt, and all the rest of my family going through this. It's just terrible. Up to today, I've experienced every holiday officially, besides my oldest nephew's birthday, without my mom, and they've all sucked. Every last one of them. I slept through most of Thanksgiving. Christmas was probably the most depressing of all. It's supposed to be a time of cheer and joy, but how is this supposed to feel any of these things with my mom being dead? It was her favorite time of year, which made it even harder to enjoy. Every time we went to church, the song Silent Night came on, and she'd always cry. And now I do the same. I also had my 18th birthday, 2 months after she was murdered. If it wasn't for my sister planning an amazing party for both my brother and I don't think I would have gotten out of bed that day. She was the woman that brought me into this world, and it didn't feel right celebrating without her. I had my senior prom without her, and she didn't get the chance to tell me how beautiful I looked, and then embarrass me with a bunch of pictures. I had to walk the stage at my high school graduation without my #1 supporter cheering me on in the crowd. I received scholarships, and my mom didn't get to tell me how proud of me she was. I spent most of my senior year in the guidance counselor's office, catching up on all the missing work that I had, simply because I couldn't focus in class or at home, because I was too sad. There was a classmate in my school that truly understood what I was going through besides my friend and family. The day after the parade incident happened, she called me and she asked if I was okay because her family had experienced what I had. Her little sister was part of the dance team, and she was there and saw her sister get hit by this SUV. And as bad as it seems to say, I was glad in that moment that I had somebody that could relate to my situation that wasn't family. I felt for once that I had somebody that I could bond with that truly understood the emotions that I was feeling. I'm so glad that she didn't get to experience the extent of what I did and having to lose a loved one from the moment, but she came close. I love you guys. Quite often, I also think about my future as I think about my past memories with my mom. And although I wish I could say present memories, I don't have any. I think about how my mom won't be at my wedding, and I'm gonna save a seat for her, but she won't be there, and she won't get to see me say my vows or get married to the love of my life, and she won't ever get to see my future kids, and they won't know what it's like to have a grandma that spoils them, and how I have to be the one with the burden to tell them of what happened to their grandmother and why they don't have one. I won't ever get to ask my mom for parenting advice as a first-time mom. You, Darrell Brooks, took these experiences away from both me and my brother, as he will be in the same position as I am. And I wish I could say that I don't carry anger in my heart, but that's just simply not true. I'm angry that all this could have been prevented if you had just stopped. I think about how my mom saw what was coming, and she knew that there was absolutely nothing she could have done about it. I'm angry because as if my mom flying over the roof of your car wasn't good enough for you, you slammed on your brakes to get her off and continued to run her over. She wouldn't even had a fighting chance because of you. I'm angry that all of us had to relive this trauma, as you sat in that chair for weeks, not giving a single crap about any of these people. I've watched as you mocked the Bible and people's religion, and the fake tears that you put on. I've watched as you gave your closing statement about asking the jury to do what they think is right, when you couldn't have just done that yourself in the first place. I've waited for you to have a reason as to why you did all of this, so that maybe somehow I could get the slightest bit of closure. But I never will. A lot of people have asked me how I feel about the verdict. I feel happy that he was found guilty on all counts. Well, the jury found him guilty on all counts. But it doesn't do crap for me because that won't change what happened to my mom. She will not be coming home ever again. She will not ever make me another dinner. She will not ever attend my wedding. And I'll never get to hear her voice or hug her again. So really, it changes nothing for me. The only thing that it gives me at this time that I can say is that I know our justice system has persevered and that they have done my mom right. And I thank you all for that, as long with all the other victims. My life will never be the same because of you, Darrell Brooks. I have not enjoyed a single day fully since my mom has died. I'm depressed. A lot of the time, I don't watch certain shows anymore because it reminds me of my mom. I don't do certain things because it just hurts too much. I spent most of my summer inside instead of enjoying the sun and the warmth that we only get for a short period of time here in Wisconsin. I spent it inside, being sad. You don't know what it's like. I had to be in that waiting room, and my oldest nephew was texting me and asking me what is wrong and where his grandma was. And I couldn't lie to him. I had to say something. I was there when we had to break the news to my nephews and my niece that their grandma was not coming home. And I saw the tears run down their young, innocent faces and broke them. My nephew Darius, he's always been into video games. But recently, all he does is stay in his room on the video games. And he doesn't really come out much anymore. And I can't help but think that's because of this incident. That he can't see my mom smile. That she was taken from all of us way too young. My mom was the glue that kept this family together, and without her, we've been falling apart. We've been struggling to stick together, because nothing's the same. And I blame you for that. Every piece of it. Thank you.
Thank you.